those of you who don't know me, I'm Kush, again, better known as Chris's better half. And Chris and I have been working on the Xoogler for the last 9 years. I mostly run the investment side of things through a small venture fund that we have called Xoogler Ventures. We have invested in north of 100 companies together. 5 of them are unicorns now, which is super cool. We have also been organizing a lot of events together. Last year, Xoogler did over 340 events. It's crazy. I don't know how. Now I can understand. And because there are like 5 events since I was here in Singapore, and Chris is doing so many, so it's easy to understand how they happen. One thing that we also do, particularly which we started doing together, is building our first startup together. This will be my 3rd startup, but the first one, and hopefully many more that we do together. I'll do together with Chris. My background is 8 years at Google, product and marketing roles, YouTube ads, Android, helped launch Google Play, left in 2014. Started a company with a friend of mine who was a professor at Stanford. We sold that company to Pinterest 7 months later. That was in what we used to call machine learning, like information retrieval space. Then we started doing, got very fascinated reading the papers all that were coming out in deep learning. I wanted to do a little bit of like text summarization, so started building a second startup called Key.ai. We did a lot of interesting work. I could summarize legal documents, non-disclosures, debt covenant, but it was hard to sell, so that company had an alumni commission. I went to Verizon, which was one of my largest customers as well. Verizon put me on the Yahoo deal, overseeing Yahoo Small Business, which was started by Paul Graham, who created Y Combinator. And the first GM of that business unit was Jeff Ralston, who sold Rocket Mail to Yahoo. That became Yahoo Mail. And then he was the CEO of Y Combinator much later. And I have this amazing shared history with him that he was the first GM of that unit and I was the last. I shut it down. I left Verizon to join a portfolio company that is also a Singaporean company now. They're approved by MAS. They have the licenses. It's called Falcon X. Worked there as an executive running corp dev, partnerships, marketing, a few other functions, and left in 2022. And in Jan of 2023, when these layoffs happened at Google, the DNA of our community changed. We started thinking a lot about how do we not just support entrepreneurs, but also help people live better lives with better careers. And we realized that the best way to do it is through the network and community. I draw a lot of energy and inspiration from the Google community. And I think that we collectively can help advance our ambitions versus like sort of my thousands of connections on LinkedIn. So we are building Key to fulfill that objective. I'm going to talk a little bit about what Chris asked me to do, which is sort of AI. I run an event called TGI.ai. Some of you have dialed into that from Singapore. We've been doing it for 8 years now. It started as just a weekly drinks that happens in Sunnyvale, and there's some really powerful company that emerged out of it. So that group has created north of $10 billion in market cap. Insane, like publicly traded companies. A lot of like really cool companies in AI and blockchain came out of it. I'm going to summarize what I've learned from that group, as well as like my groups that I'm also part of. As we extended TGI and started like bringing in Stanford, Berkeley, and MIT kids as well. So what I'm going to share with you today is like just a general view of what's going on. I have tried not to keep it technical, but if you want to talk about like RAGs, GANs, and like some really cool model, we can also talk about it. But this is more of a generic presentation focused on what is happening versus how to do it. So just to summarize, I think this is very simple and well understood. But there are the last 3 years, a lot happened in AI. The first is the ChatGPT breakthrough. Like a lot of things, a lot of chatter, and OpenAI launched the model, the 2.0, and it was one of the fastest growing products of all time. And as GPT through its started like growing, there were a lot of rapid advancements in new models, techniques, and application. And I don't need to tell you guys that transformer and diffusion became like 2 real ways. Like that, if you don't know anything about AI, or are non-technical, like you should learn about transformers and diffusion, how they work. Fairly simple, but transformers basically help you enable language models, and diffusions are what you use to create images. That's a basic view of that. There are a lot of challenges and concerns, like very legitimate concerns. One of the biggest moment was like Sam Altman at the US House of Representatives almost begging for AI to be regulated, and how silly that sounds. Like usually, like startup CEOs don't want it to anything. They don't want any regulation. They want to push the boundaries, and there was a CEO who wants something to be regulated. But these challenges are real. The bias, what happened at Google time and time again was just insane. And it's a lot of cultural things that we often do and are part of. Those biases are carried forward in these models, and it's really scary. Like Google lost a fair chunk of its market cap because of the kind of issues it had over the launch of Gemini, and now of course, like I think Google is a wartime company, so like there was iPhone before Android came, and I think they're gonna like very strong leadership and whatnot. I'm sure that they'll fix it over a period of time, but it's fairly interesting to see like how fast these things can evolve. So another thing that you guys have not noticed is that how many CEOs are mentioning AI in their earnings calls. It just shot up since the beginning of 2023. There are these like really fun videos all over YouTube and TikTok where CEOs are just saying AI, 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 AI. But if you were to think about any earnings call, you should watch NVIDIA. It's very interesting. Talk about being lucky. NVIDIA caught the first wave with gaming. They caught the second wave with blockchain and the third wave with AI. And they became more and more valuable. And the compute revenues for them have grown 5x, and the networking revenue is more than 3x from last year. By the way, this is not for NVIDIA, this is for the cloud companies. So if you look at like NVIDIA's revenue from 2020, so $2.8 billion in profit to sort of 42.8 is great, but Google, Amazon, and all the other cloud providers are going to make a lot more money than you think. So it's a big boys game. Like what is going to happen is the cost to run these cloud infrastructure is going to come down. They will be able to sell premium services or AI train or sort of like AI specific verticalized solution on the cloud, and they will make a lot more dollar for every dollar that they're going to invest in upgrading to the new NVIDIA AI infrastructure. But if you think about the AI as, and this is the mistake that a lot of us make. Like we think about building companies that are AI companies, but they truly are not. You have to think about, for example, one good example is Salesforce has invested so much money in AI. And I said, but they stock plunged about 21% because they're just not able to sell. That's the harsh reality of the economic climate that we live in. I think it's not as felt in this part of the world quite yet, but in the US, we are also seeing a very soft landing, but the buying cycles have changed. Tech layoffs for a start, but a lot of companies' discretionary spending and how they're investing in like ramping up their infrastructure is very measured. Mark Benioff said that during this earnings calls as well. I think a lot of Wall Street is still defending the stock because and it rebounded fairly quickly because they think that they're going to make a lot of money in generative AI, but they will continue to see adoption issues. We also know that GPT usage is fairly limited, and that's the subcognition that we have all grown up with. It's so in tuned in our nature when we have to search something, we just type Google. So it takes a generation before like the dominance, etc., is gonna go. So a lot of people are paying for GPT, but they're not really using it on a daily basis. How many of you use any sort of AI models every day? Everyone uses every AI models every day. It's amazing. And how many of you use Google search at least 20 times a day? Of course. So I think it's going to take a little bit of time, but GPT usage numbers are fairly low, and it's gonna like as it improves and it starts embedding itself into different software, it's gonna. The fun part is that VC as in venture capital as an asset class is deploying north of $80 billion this year, or is projected to deploy north of $80 billion in AI companies, and it's one of the largest investments that's going to happen. But these bets are heavily concentrated. So if you're a startup founder and you see this about $80 billion available, they're not available for us. They're available for like a couple of companies that are just going to require a lot. When Elon Musk is building XODA, he's going to get a lot of that. Almost like 10% of this investment is going to go there. So we have to think about very clean science of where these investments are going, and that's the second thing that we also have to think about. Is its signals are very important. So this signals that there's so much venture capital available, and if you're building an AI foundational model, you're doing something really clever, chances of you getting through an M&A cycle or a talent acquisition cycle almost increases very significantly, because there's no way these companies are going to just deploy this money and keep building it. They're going to look for M&A opportunity. The moment you have capital, M&A starts taking place. So think about like what are the things that beyond generic AI these large companies are not going to do, and that'll be a very interesting conversation for us as startup communities to think about. Multimodal AI is coming this year. Right now, we talked about like text being separate from images to videos, but I think all the new models that are coming out, particularly like I think Sam didn't say it, I think Google's almost said it at I/O. They're working on like integrating all sort of modalities, from text, images, audio, video, etc., to create like very powerful AI systems that is going to be able to deliver all sorts of things. So with a single prompt, you should be able to generate your entire social media campaigns, as an example, from a YouTube and a TikTok video to a podcast to a blog to a website, and one prompt should be able to do that, and that's extremely powerful. There are like a lot of coherence and additional like sort of fine tuning that's going to happen in different models in generative AI. I'd love to talk more about it in specific. There are some really powerful research that came out of CMU and Stanford that is. I'm pretty sure that even that research is not cutting edge, because companies like Google and OpenAI would have solved some of these problems like 2 years ago. And then finally, I'm seeing significant amount of investment going into AI-powered automation. What I mean by that, a lot of insurance underwriting in US is being automated, not just by workflows, but also like predictive models where people are using sort of what sort of claim a certain car will have when it gets into accident in a certain state. So vertical AIs and sort of AI-powered automation in certain industries is going to be pretty powerful. So I think what I felt as you're talking to the VC is two things. First is, if you're building a startup, you have to understand where you play. There are multiple layers when you think about building AI. From AI optimized hardware to cloud platform, closed source, open source models to model hubs, and then there are apps, application layer where you can like build vertical solutions, etc. It's extremely important to think about where you play. The level of investment across the spectrum is also very different. So if you're writing your own foundational models, you're likely it's a big volume. You're gonna have to raise $20, $30 million. It's a hard thing to do. But if you're building a vertical app, you shouldn't think of yourself as an AI company. Like you don't, like very similar to your qualifiers, like that are gonna become legacy, if not this year, by next year, is AI-driven, AI-based. Like how many startups, or even like we're guilty of it ourselves, like I am personally, how many startups today say that I'm an AI-based solution to this? Or it's the same thing like I'm a mobile-based dating app in 2014, and I think powered by AI, AI-based, AI-driven is just all going to become legacy in next year. It is a default. If you're building an application, you're going to use the internet and the cloud with the AI. It's just as simple as that. So you're not building an AI company unless you're writing your own models, and that's very few people should do that. It's extremely costly. It requires AI researchers, applied AI engineers that are very, very expensive. Some of you here know because you get those fact checks. But you're basically, just like you're not building a mobile app or a cloud app, your app is on the cloud and you will build a mobile application. When you say you're building an AI application, it doesn't make sense. You're just building an app. So VCs are going to soon start charging you, if not already, the merits of what's your unique value proposition, what market are you opening up, what's your long-term sustainable differentiation, etc., versus like how you're using AI. And then finally, I wanted to keep it very quick. I don't know, Chris, how much time you have, but I want to wrap this up fairly quickly as well. I wanted to talk a little bit about TJ.ai, which is the event that we've been running for 8 years. I think this is a great example of where some of the things that you discussed actually become reality. It's in It was in 2016 or 2017 we started talking about like generative models, and there were a bunch of companies that came out of it. So it's just a gathering of it's just a neutral convening ground rather to debate ideas and discuss very technical discussions. So we talked about like transformers and how to build transformers. We talked about like sort of fractional diffusion, not just diffusion, like how you fractionalize diffusion, and then like building derivative products out of it. What we do is we pick a research paper from somewhere in the top universities or published by Google or conferences like NIPS and Wisdom. We read it and then we debate it. That is a really powerful way to learn about cutting edge technology, not just AI, but any other technology that you guys are interested in. And what happens is, reading academic papers is extremely boring, but when you combine with, even if you're not technical, and you come in and start talking about it, and start thinking about the practical use cases of it, it becomes extremely powerful and a lot of business ideas come out of it. Like I'll give you an example of a company that Chris and I recently wrote a small check for, and they are building something really clever, which I think is going to happen in every device. The company is called Similar. What they do is they use a device level technology. You can type a very simple prompt like create a calendar invite with a Zoom meeting and send it to person X, Y, and Z. And you see a mouse move on your computer, automatically open Zoom, enter the meeting details, you go to the calendar, create the calendar invite, type the name and email address of that person because it knows everything about you, and everything that you would have done yourself, your computer has now done. Is it cool? Yes. But why it is so important? Because to do these kind of tasks, you needed APIs. Now you don't need to write APIs. Because you theoretically move the cursor around and achieve these kind of tasks. It's like groundbreaking. Like when we saw this demo, we were amazed. So I didn't realize that I met this incredible founder, but I didn't realize when I had met him, it turns out that he's been attending these CGI meetings sometimes. And so you meet some like really interesting and clever ideas. This cat is a mascot, which is also generated by one of the first versions of Diffusion. We also invited a lot of industry scholars, from the CEO of Glean, Arvind, who came and spoke, Sridhar Ramaswamy, who's now the CEO of Snowflake, and a few others who will then give their perspective on how they're using AI in very large companies. And Xooglers are at the front and center in the age of AI, which is expected. Some of the biggest companies in AI are founded by ex-Xooglers, like from Anthropic to Covariant, Calypso, Snowflake. These are household names if you are building anything AI. Cohere, Character, Inflection, Perplexity, and many more are being started by ex-Xooglers. So they all are hiring. So if you are looking to work in a really cool company, let Chris and me know. We'll be happy to broker a warm introduction. If you're looking to start an AI company, let's talk again. We'll love to think about those ideas as well. And then finally, there are a lot of other opportunities to get involved, particularly here in Singapore. So I haven't met them, but I've heard about amazing things about AI Singapore Group. They are making significant investments to make Singapore into a hub around AI. I think all of you, along with us, should participate in that discourse. Happy to take any questions. But I wanted to just give a very quick overview of like how we are thinking about it, how this process of just ideation and like building companies work. It just happens at gathering like these. Like we'll drink beer. Thank you, Evie. And we'll talk about what ideas are, and hopefully we'll build some incredible things together. So thank you for hosting me. Like it's always a fun to come to Singapore, but this trip was extra special because Chris took me to some incredible food joints and hawker centers, which was I miss doing that. So thank you again.